Hey, Strife here. I wanted to make a quick video on my Guardians build. I'm using it's a shout build with altruistic healing. Even though it is a shout build, it is not really a supporty build. It's more of like a tank DPS build. And it is obviously for harder content in PvE like dungeons. Any build can really farm or whatever. But this build is designed to tank and do damage in dungeons against harder mobs. Alright, so as far as gear goes, for armor I'm taking the Power, Toughness, Vitality set. You can get this I have the Honor of the Waves dungeon set. You can get it from two other dungeons, Karma or WVW as well. You can't craft it or buy it. I took this set mainly because it's perfect for Guardian. They have a very low health pool as their base health pool, so you want some of your gear to have vitality on it, and then power and toughness as a tanky DPS build are obviously ideal. The rune I have in here is a Rune of the Soldier. Since this is a shout build, each of your shouts is going to remove a condition for you and your party, which is huge because it frees up your skill slots to use other stuff besides condition removal, and it also frees up your major traits. And obviously you always want some type of active condition removal, so that's what this rune does, while giving me some tank stats as well. For jewelry, you don't need any more vitality once you get to around 17 to 18k health. That's going to give you enough to have enough HP base for conditions or like bursts by bosses. So for accessories I want with precision, power, and toughness. This is good because more toughness means more effective HP with a heal build like this, and then obviously power and precision for damage. The other thing, precision is going to give me crit, and this build heals with crits, so that is really good as well. My back slot is just the guild backpack from WVW with another emerald jewel. As far as weapons go, I take weapons and their stats based on their what they're used for, basically. So like my greatsword's my DPS weapon, so I wanted to go for power, precision, critical hit damage on its stats. And then I'm taking the critical chance rune. It doesn't show up on the character page. If I switched out weapons, for instance, it stays at 38%. But it is working, is what the dev said. So this is really a 43% chance to crit. And then for my staff, I use that as a support weapon. I use it usually to back off and heal up, or I don't really use it for range damage because the staffs have terrible range damage. I'll switch to like Scepter for that. So I took healing power. The Sigil of Energy is great because anytime I switch to staff, it means I want to get out of melee range. So I always have that extra dodge to get out of melee range, basically. If we switch over to my traits, I'm going 0, 10, 30, 30, 0. I'll go through what I use first, and I'll explain why I don't do what some of the other people think you should do. So first, 10 in Radiance, you want the Signet Recharge. It lowers your heal from 40 to 32 seconds, which is huge. If I go down to the Valor Line, this is the line you take for altruistic healing, which is what this build is based on. This skill, or this trait rather, it heals yourself anytime you apply a boon to an ally or yourself, and the number of boons you apply heals you more, basically. So at level 80, this skill gives me 72 health per boon. So if I were to use a shout, such as Hold the Line, which gives 2 boons to everyone, and I hit all 5 people in the group, it's going to give me 720 health. The other thing to note is Might. You get each stack of Might counts as 1 boon, so something like Empower on your staff skill that gives 12 stacks of Might as it channels. It's going to heal, yourself 12 times, and then if it hits 4 other people, it's going to heal you like 60 times in total. It gives you a ton of health. For the other 2 skills in the Valor Line, Retributive Armor is good because every piece of equipment you have has toughness on it, so you're getting a good amount of precision, and then obviously precision helps you crit, which heals you, which I'll get to later. And then purity is good for a passive condition removal in this build. As far as the honor line goes, this is basically the line that's going to benefit from your critical hit chance. So going through the major traits real quick, the shouts are obvious in a shout build. The two-hand mastery is also obvious. I'm using two weapons that are two-handed, so it's a cooldown for 8 different skills. And then empowering might. So this skill, it has a 1-second internal cooldown. But the good thing is it hits your full party. So every time you crit, you're going to hit 5 people with might stack, which will give your party more damage, and it'll also heal you 5 times. The other crit skill in this line is Vigorous Precision. This does not have an internal cooldown. So if you're using something like Whirling Wrath over here, and say you have 3 mobs in your range, so you're going to hit them 9 times each for 36 times total, and you crit roughly 40% of the time, you're going to get a ton of Vigor stacks, which means a ton of hills in a short amount of time. As far as Selfless Daring and Elusive Power goes, these are excellent minor traits as well. Every time you dodge, you're going to heal yourself and your party members for 429 health with this build. And then every time you're under 100% endurance, you're going to do 10% more damage. So it's always good to use at least one dodge roll just to keep your endurance between 50 and 100%. Knowing that you have your staff on quick switch with the Sigil of Energy means you'll always still have 2 dodges to get out of the way of more damaging moves. So real quick, a lot of people think you should take 15 in Radiance and 5 in Virtues. What that allows you to do is every time you kill a mob, basically your Virtue of Justice is going to be up, and every time you use it, you're going to get a stack of might. The reason I don't take this is because this is not a farming build. When you're in dungeons, it's mainly going to be harder mobs, bosses. You're not going to be fighting a ton of trash most of the time, and if you are fighting a ton of trash, it's going to be so easy that you don't need to worry about staying alive. So really a 15-5 build isn't beneficial for dungeons, and really for farming, this build, I've used it quite a bit with MF sets. You're super tanking, you do a ton of damage anyway that you really don't need 15 in Radiance and 5 in Virtues. You're already going to get a lot of crit from Empowering Might, and you have your shouts and your basically boon leech through altruistic healing that I've never even come close to dying in PvE and like ore farming. So that's why I take 10-30-30 instead of something else. If you do MF, so a lot of times, like I said, I'll magic find in my gear. You still do have pretty respectable stats. Switch to your MF weapon. You can build the 25 stacks. You can switch back to a crit weapon, which will give you 48% crit chance. You do have less health, but a lot of the time, it's not that big a deal, especially in easier dungeons or if you're just out farming. Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to talk about my skill bar as well. Probably looking at this and wondering why it looks so weird, like what the hell, why is this 9 and why are these all weird keys? I actually use a modified combat mod, CM. You can Google it, or I think there's a ton of threads on like Reddit or Guild Wars 2 Guru about it, but basically what combat mod does is it locks your camera. So right now I'm moving my mouse, but I'm not holding down the right key. By pressing tab, I switch between a locked camera, and I have my arrow out right now, so you can like click on stuff like normal, go through your inventory. I don't think you can see my arrow with this video, but there's an arrow on my screen. If I switch back to tab, now it's locked. What that does is it just allows you to be more fluid in combat and reactionary. You don't have to hold your right key all the time, your right mouse. The other good thing is it actually frees up your mouse keys. So my left click is actually my attack, which is the number 9 on my bar right now, and then my right key is dodge. So I have access to both those skills just with my right hand now. That means I can use 1 through 5 for my other skills up to healing, which is all easily accessed by my left hand. As far as my right hand goes, the thing that says M3, my 3 skills basically, my choosable skills, M3 is my mouse click, M3 on my scroll wheel. Then scroll up and scroll down are my other two skills. Same thing with my F1 through F3. F1 is actually bound to my forward key on my mouse, so I just hit the forward key on my mouse with my thumb. F1 is used. If I hold shift and use the scroll up and scroll down, it uses my F2 and F3. So that lets me have access to basically 6 different skills, all with my right hand without ever moving, plus my dodge and my attack. W is my ultimate. I come from a competitive FPS background. I've been using E, A, D, F as my movement keys because I have bigger hands. So W is actually my ultimate, E is forward, and then Q is my switch between weapons. So for me at least, it just allows me to have access to all my skills in combat very quickly with only the movement of a couple fingers. So it's just, you know, I can react faster in combat. I said I use modified CM because actually CM, at default they tell you in the directions to turn on auto target, so that way if you run up to, say, this mob right here, if I were to start attacking it, it would lock onto it. I turn off auto targeting because if I were fighting and I wanted to dash, or if I'm just running through ore, I don't want to have my greatsword skill target a mob. I just want it to go where I'm pointing. So I turn off the auto target. I do like tab targeting still because, as you can see here, I'm not going to be auto attacking if I'm not locked on them. So I use C as my closest target, and I use my V key as just the tab target, so I can just cycle through mobs. If I press tab to go to my mouse, I can actually just click on stuff. So I'm clicking on these mobs right now. So it just gives you more flexibility with what you can do in combat, basically. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is for ore farming, this build is still good, obviously, without the 15 in Radiance, 5 in Virtues. You really have no risk ever dying. I'm in my Magic Find set right now, which isn't tanky at all, and I can just run around, can grab these 5 mobs. You'll see I'll just start healing like crazy when I'm critting. Can use my shouts, can roll around. Everything still just dies really fast. Like that was 5 mobs right there. I really had no risk of dying. I think so there's a champion up here. You can go check her out. So as you can see, I can just move around really quickly with this CM mod. If I had my normal build on, I could get rid of like the bleeds and stuff by just shouting. Of course, champions have insane health, but you can see my damage is still really good. I can back off twice, switch to staff, use another dodge, use empowering might. As you can see, he does a pretty good job at, you know, farming an ore or doing whatever. And this build is really good in a group of 5 in a dungeon, obviously. I'm going to be healing more with my crits and with my shouts, and obviously I'll have my real gear on if it's more challenging. So hopefully this guide helped you out. Thanks.